taxes cannot be the only reason why you want to renounce. So if you spend 6 months in the US, you will be a tax resident. There is likely, possibility of you regretting it at some moment is really high because, down the line, you might have a need to go back. You might not necessarily be allowed, right? That's something that, before you even go through a renunciation process, you need to be aware. Like, are you okay with that you might not be able to get it back?
Yeah, if you're a high net worth individual American, what are the most common countries that you see them get the second citizenship?
Sure. First of all, it kind of depends on what your goals are.
Let's say my goal is to minimize taxes the most possible.
Sure. So there are only a couple of options for U.S. citizens to minimize taxes. Obviously, that is with foreign earned income exclusion and kind of setting up a bit different corporate structure. It is with moving to Puerto Rico, which is, I think, very popular for crypto guys that want to lock their capital gain tax. And obviously, kind of the ultimate way is renunciation. My personal opinion and something that we advise our client is that taxes cannot be the only reason why you want to renounce. And we often get people that say, yeah, I really want to get rid of US taxes. It's too much. I want to do, I can do better somewhere else. And then they kind of come back with a question, okay, if I renounce, how much time I can spend in the US? I need to spend, let's say, 6 or 7 months in the US, but I still want to renounce. Why would you do that? So if you spend 6 months in the US on whichever passport, you will be a tax resident. So you will still pay US taxes.
So if you're in the U.S. for 6 months or more, you have to pay U.S. taxes.
Yeah, so foreigners do who spend more than that do have to, or there are different closer connection tests that also can trigger U.S. taxes. So why would you renounce your citizenship? Obviously, first of all, obtain a second or whatever number passport. Renounce, go through that so that you can again fall into U.S. tax bracket. Or even people that sometimes say, okay, well, I don't have a need to spend. I might occasionally get back, but I want to do that because of taxes. There is likely, possibility of you regretting it at some moment is really high, because down the line, you might have a need to go back. You might not necessarily be allowed, right? If you have a passport that needs to go through visa process for the US, you might be rejected. That's something that, before you even go through a renunciation process, you need to be aware. Like, are you okay with that you might not be able to get it back? And if so, then fine. But if there is any doubt, sit through it, think about it. Let's look into different ways. We also have a lot of people that come in. Obviously, they heard we do speak about it. A lot other people speak about it. They heard it sounds nice to some people, but then there's this kind of whole emotional element in that. So it's better to really think it through, and in the meantime, check other countries, see if you feel better somewhere else, really kind of explore the world. And of course, if your renunciation is still what you want to do, then yes. But we had a very interesting couple back then who was really traveling very, very limited during their lifetime. So they only visited a couple of places around the world. And they were certain that they do want to renounce, which is something in this case we did not recommend, just because they haven't seen the world, they haven't seen what it's like to live in other countries. So it's a big drastic step from spending almost your whole life in one country to kind of completely relocating somewhere else or to multiple places, cutting all connections with that country. It is a drastic step and it needs to be considered as such. Obviously, there are people who are very well ready to do so. As I said, we see a lot of people doing it not necessarily for tax reason as a first reason, but really because they disagree with certain policies, disagree what is it to be American nowadays. So they are doing it more as a patriotic.
Yeah, a philosophical reason.